Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with me today. We've really got several topics that we need to deal with. So as we go through, we will change topics along the way. But let's get to our primary reason for being here first. As you well know, the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, number one priority is to protect your children, protect our children, protect all of the children. That is our prime goal and our prime focus. If we as a society can't protect our children, that's a sad state of affairs. But that doesn't happen in Polk County because of the hard work of the Sheriff's Office. Let me go over two operations that we've completed. And neither of them are a surprise to you because Operation Guardians of the Innocent, this is number 4, and we call it our fall haul. And at the same time, we did Operation Trick or Treat during the month of October to make sure our sex offenders were appropriately registering and living where they were supposed to live. So when you look at our Operation Fall Haul and our Operation Trick or Treat, this is the most we've arrested that we can remember at one time. Some people just never learn, and that's why we're here today. This operation occurred successfully because, as I said before, the hard work of the men and women of the Sheriff's Office, but we've executed up to this point 23 search warrants in order to do this investigation, and we may have to obtain more search warrants. Brad Copley is the assistant state attorney that we work with and approved all of the 23 search warrants and will prosecute the vast majority of these people, and he's simply the best, and we appreciate our state attorney, Brian Haas, assigning Brad to these difficult cases. We made a total of 31 arrests. 17 of them was as a result of Fall Haul and 14 as a result of Trick or Treat. Our forensic investigations into their electronics is still in progress. At this time, we anticipate that there will be many more felony charges filed later on. But let me give you a snapshot of just this group of people. These folks, just this group, had 499 previous charges. 499 previous criminal charges. And so why do I highlight that? There are people marching around the state and the country saying we're too tough on criminals. We lock up too many people. Well, if that were true, if we didn't give breaks, if we didn't have probations, if we didn't have diversions, and you looked at all of their criminal history, and all of their criminal history is not sex-related, but if you looked at all of that, 499 cases, certainly they'd all be in prison forever. So for those of you who continue to say to our constituency, oh, we got this too tough criminal justice system, we need to let people out, quit lying to the community. This is a very forgiving criminal justice system. On these folks here, we have filed 672 new felony charges with the assistance of our state attorney's office. And it's our intention for these people to never have access to our children. It's important that you understand that we are serious about these folks. And do you notice? There's not one female in the group. These deviants, these perverts, are limited to male. and they're targeting our children online. Or they're watching child pornography online. And we know the overwhelming majority of people that engage in watching child pornography, the overwhelming majority of them would subsequently have sex with children given the opportunity. But let's go through the photographs really quick, and then we'll move forward with what I think is an interesting ending to all of this. Here's William Hague. He's our oldest person. He spent over 30 years working for the Polk County School District. 30 years. He was a teacher, an administrator, an assistant principal at a middle school. We've charged him with 252 counts of child porn. He confessed. Now, I want you to know he's been retired for about 18 years, so it's not like he's had any recent contact with our students in school. He's currently in jail. He's married, and he has adult children. His child porn was normally children as young as 8 years of age. When we served the search warrant, he was engaged in an active chat about how to have sex with children. He grew up in the school system, but he has been gone 18 years, which is a good thing. Then there's Britt Kenny. Britt Kenny's 40. He is a manager for Disney in the entertainment department. Britt has worked for 15 years for Disney. We've arrested him 2 times. We arrested him once and he bonded out, and we found additional materials and we put him back in prison or in the county jail. He's married. He doesn't have any children. We charged him with 24 counts of child porn. He said he's been viewing child porn for 22 years. And he fantasizes. He fantasizes that he's the child being victimized in the child porn that he watches. He prefers children as young as 2 or 3 years old. This guy is scary. This guy is a deviant. This guy is a person who has deep-rooted sexual issues. He's in jail, and he confessed. Well, he's not by himself. There's another Disney employee by the name of Donald Durr. He's 52 years of age. He has worked with Disney for 20-plus years. He's currently assigned maintenance in the hotels. And he said, are you ready for this? You know you can't make this stuff up. Here's what Donald told us during this interview. I'm a pervert, but I'm not a monster. Are you kidding me? I agree with the first part of your statement. You are a pervert, but here's a newsflash. You're also a monster. A monster with a capital M. We charged him with 8 counts of possession of child porn. He's still in the jail. How about Edgar Vilanis? He's 28. Edgar's already been to prison for possession of child porn. He spent 6 years. He prefers children as young as 2 years of age. He was released from prison. Are you ready for this? He was released from prison in March of this year on probation. And guess what? We found him in possession of more child porn while he's on probation. We've got him charged so far with 2 counts. We're still going through the forensics on his computer, and obviously violation of probation. Now, here's what's interesting. He does 6 years in prison. He's released in March. We can see where he's been accessing child porn back to at least May. So he's released from prison. He's still on probation. He did 6 years, and he immediately goes back to viewing child porn. You know what his statement was? Well, I relapsed. I made a poor choice. Duh. You made more than one poor choice. He's in jail. And then there's Charles Mabry. Charles is 37. Are you ready for this? He's in prison while he's doing this. That's right. He's in prison. He's in prison for 2 years for that low-level, nonviolent crime they talk about of methamphetamine. And he's in work release. You see, they're preparing him to go back into society and be successful because it's what they call that low-level, nonviolent drug, meth. Not only is he on work release, he's got a GPS monitor. Well, guess what? While he's in prison, on Sundays, with his GPS monitor, he's allowed to go to his daddy's house. Being a trained detective, guess when he was looking at the child porn? On Sundays at his daddy's house. Still in prison, looking at child porn. He does quality control work for Florida Beef in Wauchula. We've got him now charged with 53 counts of child porn. 53 counts. So you see what I'm saying? You try to help these rascals out. And this guy, while he's still in prison, is looking at child porn. He must have an IQ of about 17, is all I can figure. Rodney Montgomery is 51. He previously was arrested when he traveled in Pinellas County to meet a 13 or 14-year-old who turned out to be an undercover detective. Over there, they only sentenced him to 21 months in the Florida State Prison System. It's more than obvious that Brad Copley was not the prosecutor. Well, he confessed this time. We've got him for 20 counts of promotion, 10 counts of possession, children as young as 5 years of age. He's already done 21 months when he traveled to meet a minor. So we know he not only looks at child porn, he will travel if he thinks he can have sex with a minor. They don't change, folks. People with this set of deviant ethics and morals don't change. How about Brian Murray? He's 54. He traveled to meet a 13-year-old. He was going to pay the child for sex. He sent nude pictures of himself. He sent nude pictures of himself to what he thought was a 13-year-old child. Fortunately, it was our undercover detective. Listen to this. Here's his quote. He's talking to a 13-year-old child. I can take better care of you than the little schoolboys. He's 51 years old. He's saying that to a 13-year-old girl who he sends nude pictures of himself to this child. That's right. I'm sorry, he had the real victim, but we took over the account. That wasn't an undercover operation. This was to a real child, and then we took over the account and finished up the operation with our undercover. I want you to think about that for a second. Brian Murray, who's 54, was online with a 13-year-old sending nude pictures of himself and talking about how he was far superior than the little schoolboys. We charged him with attempted lewd battery, transmission, computer, using a computer to seduce a child, traveling, and he confessed. I'm glad that they called us. Then there's Michael Arambulo. Now, if you get really sick or you're really injured and you end up at the heart of Florida, at some point in time, he could have been your ICU nurse because that's where he worked. But he likes child porn, children as young as 5. We charged him with 10 counts of child porn, which is an F2. He confessed to looking at child porn, and when we served the search warrant, he was looking at pornography at the time we went to serve the warrant. It's my understanding he is not currently working at Heart of Florida Hospital. I think that's a good thing. I would hate to wake up in ICU and see that dude there. And here's Mark Ott. He's a mechanical engineer. He's 49 years of age. He has 2 sons, one of them still in high school. He's charged with 74 counts of possession of child porn. Children as young as 3 months. Did you hear me? Children as young as 3 months. Ladies and gentlemen, it makes me sick to my stomach when I see this. But now I want to introduce you to 2 more people. You're going to have to follow me with this because it's kind of a conflicted, interwoven tale. I want to introduce you to Jacob Jackson. Jacob is 31. He was soliciting a 13-year-old on Facebook. The 13-year-old on Facebook notified the sheriff's office, and we sent patrol out there. The 13-year-old said, "Hey, I know who this guy is. His name is Jared Jackson, but he's going online as Jacob Jackson." And we said, "Well, how do you know that?" The 13-year-old girl said, "I did my own research on the FDLE website, and I saw his picture. And I know his name's Jared Jackson." Wrong. There's Jared Jackson, his brother. A year and a day younger than Jacob. That's right. Jared was already on the FDLE website. So here's what happened. Jacob is online trying to hit on this 13-year-old child. She's astute enough to research, and she sees Jared's picture, and as you can tell, they can't deny being brothers. They look almost the same. So as a result of this investigation, we're also investigating, and we find that Jared Jackson, who's not supposed to be living at his mother's address, is living at his mother's address with Jacob. Jared, while there illegally at his mother's address, is trying to deal with Jacob Jackson when Jared catches him talking to this 13-year-old online. So Jared and his mother take Jacob's computer away from him to stop him from talking to the 13-year-old. And Jared says he's counseling with his brother about how bad prison is, and he does not want to end up in the same shape as his brother. So maybe here's a conversation they're having. "Jacob, I tried to warn you, and you're just an idiot." And Jacob says, Jared, do you think they'll let us stay together in the same jail cell? Jared says, I doubt it. But heck, we can ask. It doesn't hurt. After all, we're going to be spending time together. Jacob, you're my brother. I don't know what they're saying. They're just idiots. Mama's got to be proud. Are there any questions before we go on to the next? Oh, we have one more. Nope. Let's stop it right there because I want a line of demarcation between these next two issues.
Isn't there a possibility that this kind of a perversion is genetically handed down, which is why both these guys screwed up?
Do you know that is something you need to ask a psychiatrist or psychologist? I suggest to you that it's probably learned behavior. You can learn from your brother to do stupid stuff.
And the other thing is, they go to prison. It's not like learning a lesson. Is there something internal that drives them? Can they be rehab, number one? And number two, are there any programs, or do we beat the hell out of them, or whatever it takes to extinguish that behavior? Because then they're going back to the same thing, victimizing more kids.
History tells us that these folks don't change the proclivity for irrational, perverted sexual conduct or feelings. There is research that says that some, not all, can be taught to control those emotions. But understand, the reason we put them in prison and jail is to get them away from children.
But they're out, and that's the problem.
You don't keep everyone in forever. That's why we have a very robust system in the state of Florida and here at the sheriff's office where we follow these folks and track them. And see, we arrest these folks periodically all along. On Halloween Day, we were out following up on all of our registered sex offenders. All of them, to make sure they didn't have lights on and candy out and decorations to entice children to come to their different residences. So there's a lot that goes on that you don't see. But this is just a cancer on society that we have to deal with. And this is a cancer that I suggest never will be cured. We can only keep it under control with prisons, and we can only keep it under control with a lot of medication while they're on this controlled release or probation or offender watch status.
Sheriff, would you say that it's gotten worse with the internet and making it so easy to disseminate information?
I can tell you the internet has made it much easier for sexual predators to prey on children because now they can go into virtual game sites, social media sites, and pretend to be people that they're not. I can tell you that way back in the day, BC, before computers, that's someplace between the Stone Age and where we are now, okay? That when we saw child porn, it was old 8mm cheaply produced stuff from another country. The child porn we're seeing today is produced with phones such as this that have marvelous ability to not only take still photos, but videos. So it's easier to make child porn. It's easier to transmit child porn. And it's easier for them to communicate and to locate each other. Birds of a feather flock together and they find each other. And then we go in and we clip their wings.
Can you speak to the toll it takes on detectives that
Well, it's the folks that work in this investigative area go through psychologicals every 6 months and we also have our other EAP, but we actually have counseling sessions with them because this is the most horrible, nasty stuff you just can't believe what they're subjected to conduct these investigations. You cannot believe what they see. And I keep being shocked when people suggest to me that, quote unquote, and I hate to hear this term, kiddie porn, is a 16, 17, 15-year-old girl who looks 25 and acts that way. Wrong. These are pictures of babies, some as young as infants in diapers, that are being sexually abused by developed grown men. It is horrible. And quite frankly, it's illegal to share. We would never share, but I only wish that the public had a full understanding of how deviant these people are with what they're watching as far as video clips and or still pictures. Some of this is a live movie of these children being sexually abused with the screaming and crying and hollering. But if the people in the what I call the real world saw what we saw, they'd probably take up arms against them.
Were you able to locate, I know some of the victims had contacted you, but the other ones, when you found the people in possession of child porn, were you able to locate any of the victims? Do you think they're local? Or?
We have not been able to locate the victims of the child porn yet. That's always a primary objective, but we work with NCMEC as we have this time. And NCMEC has algorithms of this and has been successful in identifying the victims of crime. That's obviously our number one priority. Where are the children that are victimized in this child porn? That's always a number one desire, to locate the victims so we can rescue them.
And with this investigation, besides the one where you caught him going to the park and the other teen, was it mostly just undercover detectives communicating with them online, and that's how you were able to find them, or?
Most of these they were exchanging child porn among themselves, and through investigative techniques we were able to identify them. They were either sending or receiving. Okay?